I'm a little surprised, not to say shocked, to learn that Texans will allow people to tell them to shut up. What happened? Well, this was the toughest state in the Union. You say shut up and you do. Yeah, take care of him later. Yeah. Well, I'm disconcerted by that blank of empty seats there. As though there was a small army that didn't show up. A little disconcerting. Well, good afternoon, almost evening. I was coming to Dallas, and then I wasn't coming to Dallas, and then I might be coming to Dallas, and here I am. It's always tough. I love to work. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I live to work. I love my job, and now I'm in my 53rd year as a professional actor, and I am enjoying it perhaps more today than I ever have done in my career. And I feel very blessed by that, but it does mean that when 6 months previously I say, yes, it looks as though I'm free with the usual caveats about if work comes up and so forth, yes, I'll be in Dallas. And then work does come up, and I hate it when I have to call up and say, I'm really sorry. Well, I'm not really sorry because I've got a good job, but I'm not going to be able to make it. And then as the last couple of weeks have gone by, suddenly it began to look as though one day might just be possible, and the organizers here were very generous in their attempts to get me here. And finally, just a few days ago, literally 3 days ago, I could confirm, yes, I will be there, no matter what. This is a Texan tale. No matter what, I cannot recall when I was last in Texas. I can't recall when I was last in Dallas. Maybe some of you might even remember. But then I struggle to remember breakfast time. And, it's not funny. I'm who again? Did they say I was? But it is always a real pleasure to be in this part of the United States. I always love coming here. Whenever people in England say to me, where, here they go. Oh, no, you're filtering over from over there, smart. Good, I like to see that. Filter away. And don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't do that. You have my authority. So whenever people ask me where I come from in England, actually, very often people raise their eyebrows when they hear I am from England. I don't know why that should be. I lived for 17 years in the United States, and I have played and am currently playing an American role, and so I suppose something has rubbed off and people think I'm Canadian, or I'm from Boston. None of these things are true. I'm an Englishman through and through, and not only an Englishman, I'm a Yorkshireman. And I know there's one person from my hometown here in the audience, and so when people say to me, Yorkshire, well, what is Yorkshire like? I say, well, there's one simple way in which Americans can understand Yorkshire. Yorkshire is the Texas of England. biggest county in England. It's so big it has to be divided up into what used to be called ridings. But then when Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, thank you very much, on behalf of all my colleagues in the Labour Party, I thank you. This is dangerous territory, isn't it? And without any further ado, I am going to leave this territory and go somewhere safer. She changed the ridings so that we were the part of Yorkshire I grew up in, which was called the West Riding, because it was on the west side of the country. Now became known as West Yorkshire, but those of us loyalists still think of it as a riding rather than just simply designated by its compass bearing. But beyond that, there is something more than just the geographical nature of the county. I like to think that Yorkshire people are the most distinctive people in the UK. They are outspoken and they are blunt. Blunt often to the point of downright rudeness. But they are an honest people. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. And they are generous to a fault. And it has always seemed to me that these are the areas where my people and you people, assuming that most of you are from Texas, kind of overlap. When I was growing up in the West Riding of Yorkshire, I spoke with an accent, a strong regional accent. And I had to spend, number of years losing that accent, but more than an accent, I spoke dialect, which means, excuse me, that I use words that are not contemporary English language. I spoke using words that had been used by people in that part of England for generations and probably hundreds of years. For example, when I was a child, I went to a neighbor's house to see if my friend could come out and play, whatever. I would say to my friend, Atalegana. Atalegana. Ata, are you, Lakin, playing, out. My mother's sister every Christmas would recite a poem. This poem was called Dropped On, and it began like this. I only ever was able to remember the opening lines of it. I was sitting in my house last evening. My mother and father were off, because they'd heard that my old Aunt Susanna were laid up in bed with a cough, she's some brass, as my old Aunt Susanna. That's the reason she's looked after so. If they've not, well, they're no for a bother. There's a sample of my old Uncle Joe. Well, that's how I spoke. Excuse me. But when I decided I was going to be an actor, my acting teacher said to me, "You're going to have to change the way you speak." And so with her, and she had a beautiful speaking voice, I learned to speak what is known as RP, or received pronunciation, or rather the way people used to speak on the BBC. They don't anymore now, because thank goodness things have relaxed, and now they use people with regional accents like mine on the BBC. But it was, for me, a long journey from that background and that upbringing to being entirely confident with standard English pronunciation. And even today there are words that I struggle with, words with U in the middle of it, like worry and curry and hurry, want to come out worry, curry and hurry, because that's naturally how I would like to say them. Anyway, that's all a preamble. And I think we have, I have reassurance that we have questions set up. Right over here and over here too. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Put the baby on the pole. When it's done, wipe its bum, meeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm sorry, that was gross, but I haven't actually said that for about 45, 50 years. But now I've got it out of my system. Yes. Sir.
Yes, that's Sir Stewart. I'm Spider Jerusalem, a local journalist you may have heard of. Just wondering, what turned you on to the film Safe House with Kimberly Williams?
What turned me on to the film Safe House with Kimberly Williams was that I thought it one of the best screenplays that I had ever been sent. Well, certainly at that time, the best that I had ever been sent. It was a very challenging and interesting role, and I was very blessed to have a co-star like Kimberly in it. And it was a kind of tricky experience because the play was directed by the man who wrote it. And the man who wrote it also designed it. And it was all done on location in the man who wrote it, designed it, directed it in his house. So it was a little intense at times, you know. But it was a terrific experience, and I look back warmly on that, and whenever I can drag anybody to sit in front of my viewing screen and who hasn't seen it, I haul it out because I'm quite proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes?
Hello, sir. I recently saw your ROC production of Hamlet, which was brilliant because most of us know and love you as this just and moral and virtuous character. And yet in Hamlet you played one of the most famous villains in history. I wondered if you could tell us about that experience, because it was just fantastic to watch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, yes, it's true. Jean-Luc Picard and Charles Xavier are, and will probably be for the rest of my life, the characters for which I'm most well known, and indeed they are upright, just, honest men. But I have played a lot of bad guys in my time. I was once first choice bad guy for the Royal Shakespeare Company. And,
Well, you're very good at it.
yeah, well that kind of makes you wonder where it all comes from. Claudius was an interesting thing for me. I had never played Hamlet. I was never a Hamlet in my life. I can play Hamlet now. I'm ready to play Hamlet now, but it's unlikely that I will ever get it. But I was in a very famous production of it in 1966 with the Royal Shakespeare Company, when a brilliant actor, who indeed made quite an impact in a couple of episodes of Star Trek, David Warner, he played Hamlet, and I saw a brilliant actor called Brewster Mason play Claudius, and it became my ambition then to play that role. I played it on television with Derek Jacobi, and it might be interesting for you if you can find, and it's indeed easily available, a DVD of Derek Jacobi's Hamlet to compare the two Claudiuses. And Jacobi is a wonderful Hamlet too. But I never got to do it on stage, and I used to, whenever I heard there was a production of Hamlet coming up, I would pitch myself to the director. And for a variety of reasons, I continually got turned down. The very last time I was turned down, I was told, "I'm sorry, but you're too old." Anyway, I heard that David Tennant was going to do it. Wonderful man and terrific actor. And I happen to know the director really well, and I begged him to let me have a go at playing Claudius. And then we did it in Stratford and London, and it was very successful. And then we filmed it, which was the, you know, the icing on the cake. But yes, playing really, really bad. You know, the thing about Claudius is he's not a really bad guy, he got one thing wrong. Now, it was a big thing, he killed his brother, and that's... but in every other respect, you know, he was a far better king than the other king would have been, I'm sure a far better husband too, a far better stepfather if Hamlet would have let him be, and but he did one horrible thing, and his life is blighted and damned because of it. But I played worse guys than that. There is also a film called Macbeth, which is out there. And, he's really bad. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. It's always good talking about, you know, that side of my work in you know, an event like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Just to start, I'd like to say kudos on behalf of the LGBT community, and thank you for your parts in Frasier and in the movie Jeffrey with Steven Weber. I mean, you were absolutely fabulous. Now, my question is, and not to really piss off Stewart Griffin and have a Family Guy moment, but my question has nothing to do with Star Trek. Did the National Geographic Society or Discovery Channel contact you before they aired the part and the piece of the discovery of the 9,000-year-old skeleton, the Kennewick Man? Are you familiar with the Kennewick Man?
Yeah, I am, and I know what you're referring to. No, that was a complete surprise. Somebody said to me, "Hey, you ought to take a look at the newspaper, you're in it." Yeah. I was flattered. I was really flattered to, you know, to have scientists connect me with something that had lived 9,000 years ago.
Well, yeah, for a while there, we thought maybe the Enterprise had gotten sent back and crashed.
Yeah, it might indeed, but then, you know, you'd have to start looking for number one and Dr. Crusher and all the rest of it.
Thank you.
And they're all too pretty to be Kennewick Man.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Yes?
Yes, sir. I have actually two questions for you. One is, how did it feel to work with the cast and crew of Star Trek The Next Generation?
Oh, I thought you said you had two questions.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you mean the cast and crew? That was two questions. One, the cast, two, the crew. It was a wonderful experience. Wonderful. They became and still are, every single one of them, my very dearest and closest friends, and I am never happier than when I'm in their company. It's as simple as that.
Would you do it again? If you get a chance?
Would I do it again?
As an admiral?
Captain is good enough for me. I'll settle for that. Anyway, what people yell out, you know, I'm in New York at the moment, living there, and it's just great. I love it in New York. You know, you walk past a construction site or something, and people yell out, "Hey, Captain, how you doing?" I like it. "Hey, Admiral." not the same, is it? No, I mean, you know, that's a fantasy thought of yours. There won't be any next generation. Why? Well, you know, everything has its time, doesn't it? And you move on, and Star Trek has moved on magnificently with this new cast. What JJ is doing, what he did with the first film, and what I'm sure he'll do with the others is outstanding. So, no, we're all of us incredibly proud to be part of this great epic tradition which has become Star Trek. There's nothing like it in the history of entertainment, of show business. There's never been anything that has had a life like this, so I'm just very happy to have been part of it for a while. Thank you. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the wonderful roles you've done in the past, especially in the Shakespearean era. I'm just curious, are you doing any, or do you have any plans for like any large productions of any Shakespeare plays in the future?
I don't have any plans for any Shakespeare. I mean, I have a list this long of things I want to do, but at the moment there is nothing on that list that's planned. I do have theatre plans for the late summer and autumn in New York, and I can't tell you what they are, but I can tell you, you will hear about it, because it's a very, very big and exciting. I don't mean big in the sense of scale, you know, it's not like Spider-Man or anything. On the contrary, it's quite small scale, but what it is going to attract a lot of attention. So that'll be in about 15, 16 months' time. Between now and then, I am focusing exclusively on film and television, which I haven't done for 8 years, apart from the Hamlet and the Macbeth movies. So, yeah. And extras, that's the only thing.